In this video, we're going to take a look at generators, which are these little tools in Rolescape that allow you to create content for use in your games. And they're meant to be so quick and easy to use that you can actually use them while you're playing. You may have already seen these in the Tome of Lore. If you go to edit something, there's this little magic hat next to a name. If you click on it, it lets you pick different kinds of names to generate. And so you can easily have names generated for you. You don't have to come up with them all your own. Same thing in the adventure log. If I come in here and maybe they're traveling somewhere as it is here, and I want to create a new entry in the Tome of Lore, something just made up on the moment, or maybe the players went somewhere crazy and I need to send them somewhere. Again, I can have it generate a name for me, maybe a German village name. So these are the generators, a very simple form of them. They can do a lot more, however, as we'll see. So where are these generators, and where do they, where can we get to them? If you come to the user menu in the top right here, you can go to generators and it takes you to this page. And on the left are listed all the generators, yours at the top, the public ones at the bottom, including all of the name generators. I've created some for myself that I'm actually using in games. For instance, there's this one, which is overland hexes for when the players are moving between places. And if I click on that, I'll have it just generate one for me at a time to make it a bit easier. I can say what the risk level is, whether it's low, normal, or high, what kind of terrain, and these are actually adapted to the setting they're in. We'll say they're in a forest, and we'll say it's the afternoon, right? And then I can start generating events, and it starts creating different kinds of events. In this case, they found a large meadow open to the sky, which is strange and interesting given the setting they're in, a megalith, and an encounter. And so these are all being generated on the fly. If I had to do this while I was at the table, it would be rolling on tons of tables, lots of rolls, players would be waiting for me, I'd feel under pressure. It wouldn't be a whole lot of fun for people, and yet here I can just make them like nothing. So really, really useful. Here's a really neat example of one. There's an inflicted, which is like these people that are kind of mixed animals and humans all kind of put together in some sort of strange and weird experiment. And these are generated as well. So not only is it generating that you found nothing, there's a ruin, there's a lair but nothing in it. There was also a clue to an inflicted. And this inflicted is a chimera dwarf with a dwarf head and a feline torso. That's a little nonsensical, but that's sometimes what you get from randomly generated stuff. It has a crab arms, which it can use for grappling. It has goat legs and fangs, so it gets a +1 to bite attacks. Its limbs are swapped left for right, which is pretty creepy. And it has a little stat block. It has a great sword for melee, a bow for ranged, and what its armor is, its AC, and its HP. This is all generated for us. So it's on the fly, and I'll get, so I have like an endless number of inflicted that I can choose from. So how did I make this? Well, I'm actually not going to look at this one because it's a bit complicated. I have another one that I've made just for this video, and so it's haunted rooms. And this is kind of, random ghosts and ghouls to populate a haunted house with. So I've made 4 levels of the house: cellar, ground floor, first floor, and attic. You don't have to have these little inputs for the player, but I think they're kind of neat, at least to show you how it works. So you can pick the attic, which is the more dangerous place, and I can start creating entries. And you can see that there's like some flavor text and a simple little encounter that gets created. And some of the ghosts are actually named, and we'll see how that works as well. So there's a very simple generator. You can also download these, and it'll download like a text file that you can then upload. If you create a new generator, one of the options is to create it from a file. So you can actually share these with people, which is really quite cool. Anyways, let's see how we can edit these. So if I click on edit, it takes me to the editor. The first thing we see in the editor is the general information about it, what it's called, description, credits. You can also say what the license is. So if it's like a copyrighted, all rights reserved, or if it's under like an open game license or a Creative Commons license or public domain. What kind of format? Markdown is typically what you want because that's like rich text. It allows you to do bolds and headings and tables and bullet point lists and those kinds of things. You can also give it tags and categories down here that helps Rolescape organize them for you. But the most important one here is this starting entry. So I've created a bunch of entries on the left here, as you can see. We have entry lists, dice tables, text blocks, and word generators. And so this one has a few of most of them. And it starts with, so when the generator is going to create content for us, it's going to start with the entry called room. And we can see the entry called room is right here under text blocks. And what a text block is, if I click into that, it's just, a block of text. And we see here that it's our first template, and it has this weird and interesting text, this curly brace, %, level, %, room. And this is where we start to see the real power of generators. So there's 3 bits of special syntax in generators. One is the percent signs. Anything that is in between it, so if I put like level, it's going to replace that with the input variable called level. And as you see, we have the inputs here. There's one called level. And when I picked from the drop-down list, I could pick like cellar or attic. So that's going to get replaced here in the text with that input. And that's how we allow the user to actually go in and customize things. Anything between curly braces is just replaced with another template. So this level room is going to become something like, if I choose attic, it's going to become attic room. And then it's going to look for a template called attic room. And I have another text block right here called attic room, conveniently enough. And it will replace this with the output from that table or this text block. And as you can see, I've got a text block for first floor, cellar, ground floor, and attic room, and that actually maps to the inputs. The last thing we can do is we can put in dice rolls, because dice rolls are pretty integral to most role-playing games. So you start with an equal sign and then your curly braces, and then you can put things like 1d6, 3d8, 2d4 plus 1d6, 1d4 plus 3 times 1d8. It supports quite a bit of syntax. Most syntax you're probably familiar with from various VTTs. So let's get back and see how this one actually works in practice. So I have my text block, level room. Let's look and see what happens if I run the attic like I was generating a minute ago. So if I come over to attic, I now see here that it has mood text. So it's going to replace this with entries from the mood text. And it's going to put out the literal text encounter, : and then ghosts and ghouls. This is what makes the attic a bit more dangerous. It has both ghosts and ghouls, whereas the ground floor room just has vermin, the cellar has ghouls, the first floor room has ghosts, and the attic has ghosts and ghouls. So the ghosts and ghouls are dice tables. But first we'll take a look at the mood text, because that's just an entry list. Entry lists are super simple. They just let you create a list of items, and you can it'll pick one of them at random for you. That's how simple it is. Adding a new entry is really simple. I can just put something here, it's really drafty. Oh my. Hit enter and it adds it. If I want to remove it, I just delete all the text from it and it goes away. Everything is auto-saved, so you don't have to worry about save buttons and whatnot. There's this kind of special case where if I actually want something that doesn't have anything, right? If I put no text, it deletes it from me. You can just put in empty curly braces, and empty curly braces just says replace this with nothing. And that's how you can get an entry that doesn't have anything that it returns. If I want to see if this works, I can hit test. And as I can see, sometimes I get an empty value, but most of the time I get these nice entries. And of course, because it's markdown, I could put some bolding and some italics in here maybe, and there I'm getting, let's see, there's my unnaturally cold. It's italicized. It's refusing to give me the broken mirror entry for some reason at the moment. I guess that's why it's called random. And so you can see I have ones for vermin, ghost dispositions, friendly, scared, frightening, horrific, curious, malevolent, and ghost names. And I got this list off I forget what website, I should know that. But it's a really cool list of like ghost names. And this looks like a lot, right? It's like, oh my goodness, how many of these do I have to make? I could go through and enter them one at a time. That seems kind of lame, especially if I'm just copy and pasting from somewhere. So there is a mass import where you can go in and just paste them into this block one per line, and it will divide them up for you and enter them. So that's a nice time saver. So that's how entry lists work. So if I go back to my attic, it's going to replace this with one of the mood texts from here. And then back to the attic room, it's going to put a ghost and a ghoul. So let's take a look at the ghosts and ghouls. And these are dice tables. Dice tables are really cool. And if you forget anything that I'm mentioning here, there's formatting references at the top of every one of these forms. There's also a how to make it work or how it works text at the top as well. So you give it a name. And then you find what to roll on this table. In this case, it's a 2d6 roll, but I could change that easily to a 2d8 or a 3d6 or a 1d20. And if you're paying attention, you may have noticed that these gray bars are jumping around. And what they are is it shows the odds of any one of these things coming up. So this one, it's 4, and the next entry is 7, which means this is going to come up on a 4, 5, or 6. And it has the combined odds of rolling 4, 5, or 6 on a 2d6. So this gives you a really nice visual way of seeing the odds of different things coming up on your dice table. So if you roll a 2, nothing happens. If you roll a 12, you get a bunch of ghasts. In fact, you get 1d6, 1d8 ghasts. So you get quite a few ghasts, in fact. Otherwise, you can see we've got soul eaters, a certain number. So we're seeing the use of dice in here as well. Now this one is kind of neat. It creates fetches a ghost name from the entry list, and it goes disposition ghost. I could, if I wanted to, let's say on a 7, you actually get another ghost. So you get 2 ghosts for the price of 1 in this case. This references its own self, right? This is the ghost table, or template. It's referencing itself. That's okay as long as it stops at some point. If it goes on too long, but the limit is quite high. If it goes on too long, though, it will stop just so it doesn't go into like an infinite loop or anything on you. So again, I can test this, and you can see I'm getting multiple ghosts at times, which is cool. So I'll remove that though, because I don't want that. And so there we are. There's Stinky the Crying Youngster, a curious ghost. So this is how it works between entry lists, dice tables, and text blocks that can all reference each other and replace content in it with other templates. You can create really powerful and fancy generators. Now, inputs. We saw that we could pick what level of the building we were in. And in the hex generator, there's quite a few different things we could pick. So you can create as many inputs as you want. You give them a name, you say what kind they are, whether it's just random like user supplied text, a number, or a list of options to choose from. This is probably the most useful, I think, or at least often it is. And so this lets me choose between cellar, ground floor, first floor, and attic. Adding a new entry is, again, really simple. Maybe the tower. Deleting it, again, same thing. You just get rid of the text. And this is what appears in the drop-down menu when I'm using the generator. And these are what gets fed in the room into this level here between the 2% signs, which then changes which of these text blocks is going to fetch content from: the first floor room, the cellar room, the ground floor room, or the attic room. One quick other little thing, dice tables, how to enter them. You don't have to enter them in order. So if I want to enter something in between, say, ghouls and wights here, I could put 8, and then I could put something right here, and it will appear between the two. Additionally, if I change this so that one of my entries is not able to be generated, it will... in this case, it can. It will actually give me an error. So if I do something like if I put, there we go. So I have 2 at 6. It's going to pick this one always. It'll never pick this one. So it's a nice way of being able to see when there's some sort of error in your table. And again, if you just delete the content from an entry, it will go in there and... There we go. It will go in there and fix things up for you. So that's it. That's generators. I hope you have fun using them and come up with some really great content. Until next time, enjoy Rolescape.